How we looking at time?
They moved the clock.
Color the hair. Try there. Back where it was.
I can't keep up with the clock. It's just moving around too much.
You're in charge of the board.
Nasty.
Oh, you did the rubber?
That's just staying. The solvent showed up today. I gotta even that spot up right there. The solvent showed up today for the, it's not
Had to put so many damn flavors on it, then you gotta take it all off.
down there. Which was, actually, the launch was so cold. He used the
Oh, yeah. Who's it here?
From Harbor Freight, I buy them 3 or 4 at a time because they lasted about 20 hours.
We got good turnout, it's good. You ready? We're recording? Okay, very good. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the City of Parker Council meeting, regular meeting for April the 4th, 2023. If we could, Pastor Davis, would you please provide the invocation? Please stand.
Let us pray. Father, we come to you and say thank you that you once again, God, give us a privilege, God, to live in such a beautiful country. God, we ask you, Lord, to be with our leaders tonight, God, as they deliberate, make decisions that shape and mold our city. God, be with them. God, give them the courage, God, to do what is right. These things we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Davis. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Barrow? Here. Mr. Chappell?
Here.
Ms. Galbraith? Here. Ms. Gibson? Here. Mayor Kelly?
Here. Ladies and gentlemen, before we get into the one and only item on the agenda tonight, if there's anybody in the audience that would like to discuss something that we're not going to talk about on the agenda, please come to the podium. Yes, sir.
My name's Gary Brannon. My address is 1034 Brannon Place.
Yes, sir.
Got a couple of questions. We've addressed this stormwater runoff on many occasions. In the ditch behind my house, it has a pipe that runs in the ditch.
Yes, sir.
And my question is, why does that pipe run into that retaining ditch that they come and clean out instead of just running into the bay?
Can you give me till tomorrow to give you an answer? Because I don't know why it does that.
I do. Can I answer it for you? I don't mind.
Are
Okay.
you sure it's the correct answer?
Okay. The reason the pipe runs in to the retaining little culvert there
Sediment.
is sediment, so the city can come dig it out.
Correct.
Which I was trying to give y'all an easement to use the excavator, and y'all didn't want the easement.
Okay.
So they have to dig it out with shovels and wheelbarrows.
And stuff like that.
So that's to keep the sediment out of the bay.
I know exactly
Do
what
we
you're
stand
talking
correct? Everybody in agreement on that?
Right.
Okay, my question is, it's like a 8-inch pipe. We have two 48-inch pipes that run under 98
We do.
that nothing is caught. That's where all the mud's coming. That last 2 inches of rain we have, I have videos, and it filled the whole bay up with mud again. And my question is, we agree that the one next to my house is there to catch the sediment. Nobody in this city ever notices the one going under the road with two 4-foot pipes that's running into the bay, and it's just destroying it. I've asked the city before about giving y'all an easement to clean it up to the bay. You don't want to do it. I haven't got legal counsel on stopping the city from diverting water on private property because it's costs a lot of money. I know all about lawyers. I've had a lot of them. So I'm not asking y'all to keep it off my property at this point, but I'm asking you to not let it mud. I've got videos if
In other
anybody.
words, you're saying let your land filter it before it goes to the bay? Is
My
that-
land is not a filter.
Okay.
Filtering
Well,
it,
I don't know what you want to ask me, Gary.
it shouldn't be crossing the road. Look at it. Can I walk up here?
Absolutely. So what do you want me to change?
That's the mud going into the bay a week ago.
I think he's seen it.
It's filling the bay up.
Okay.
You can't run mud into the bay. It's running under the ditch. It's not coming from Fulcrum, because
Okay.
when you get up here, you'll see the water color
Okay,
change.
okay.
From running that way, it's clean rainwater. You
Okay.
can see where they mix with each other. When it's coming under the road, it's coming from, when
Upstream.
y'all bought Cherry Lane, so it didn't flood, but the mud's coming from there and it's being diverted onto my private property.
Okay.
The,
Would you do me a
5
favor?
acres, the 5 acres y'all have is coming from there also and up 11th Street. If you watch it 1 second, you'll see where the color change is. The color change coming from Fulcrum's is just the color of rainwater. There's 2 different colors.
I understand.
There's no mud. That is just total mud. The whole bay was full. This is last week. You'll see right here where the color changed. I get
So,
out of the truck.
Gary, you're saying that they're coming from the 2 48-inch pipes, going
Coming under 98,
underneath,
what he's saying.
and there's no filter box or sifter box to,
No, it's got riprap this side of the
That's
filter.
it.
It's supposed to be the riprap supposed to stop it.
right, but if it's running that fast, it's
And
not
that
going
deep,
to,
it's
and
not
that
going to.
deep, it's
been
not
doing
made
that
for
for
that.
years, and it's been just kind of left.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
And
Can you
see the
send that
difference in
to?
the color of the water?
Right.
Do you see it?
I don't
That
know
color
the
of the
answer.
water is, I've got a video, that's clean water coming from Fulcrum's. In other words, it's a clean ditch. This is coming from.
Well, theirs is coming from the retention pond on the overflow through coming onto the right-hand side,
And
yeah.
it only overflows if there's enough in
And if
there.
it's up over the pipe. I
It's
got you.
borderline, but this is mud, and it's
Okay.
coming from the 5
Other
acres
side.
y'all have. It's coming where he cut a ditch across the top, and it's coming where it diverts over.
Okay, let me ask you a
And
question.
and I got another video
Okay,
where the same thing, that's the mud.
yeah.
That can't keep running into
And
the
when
bay.
was that? What was that date?
Was
Was it
last
Tuesday?
Tuesday, I think, or Monday or Tuesday.
Or Monday? Okay, let me ask you a
And
question.
it did it again a month ago.
Would you send that to the clerk
I will.
so that we can have it? And I will find an answer for you tomorrow. I'll find out what we could do to stop it.
And I can't fight y'all to not divert water on private property. Y'all have an easement on 3 different lots on
Let me
that
ask you a
ditch, and
question.
after that, you have no easement
What
anymore.
do you,
Just
what
run
do
it on
you
private
think
property.
would be the simple solution?
I've offered y'all several solutions.
Okay,
You can either stop it from crossing under the road.
yeah, but where am I gonna put it?
I've already offered y'all a piece of my land to put a retention pond on my property to
No,
catch it
if you
before the
stop
bay.
it before it crosses the road, where do I put it?
I don't know, but you can't divert the whole city's water on private property. If, the law stipulates stormwater can run in a direction that's a normal flow.
Normal flow, yeah.
Once you take a pipe and you divert it a 90-degree angle, and you take it and you do another 90-degree angle, we know that's not normal.
Okay.
It's like me dropping a ball right here, before it hits that, it goes this way. That's
So,
not normal.
would you give me the decency to give it to the clerk, so we have the film, and I will contact the appropriate state agencies tomorrow to find out what they're thinking the solution is. How much land would you give up?
I've already offered y'all a 20-foot strip to run it to the bay, but to do that, you'd have to clean it up with something, but it ain't coming from there, it's
Do
coming
you-
from across the road.
If you put a strip to the bay, is it still gonna flow mud water?
Yes, because it's coming from across the road.
Right, so,
This ain't coming from my land, and I was told at one time, and I don't wanna say who, but somebody told them that all this mud was coming from my property. This
Okay.
ain't coming from my property, it's coming through my property.
well, let's find somebody that can tell us a solution.
I've offered y'all, instead of a retention pond across the road, to put it in on that back little corner of my property right there and catch it, and then run it to the bay.
But it's gonna have to be captured before it gets there, because it's gonna be
No, I'm
muddy
talking
no
about a
matter what.
pond. I'm talking about a pond on the back corner of my property. I'd make a property swap with you or whatever. In other words, it's gotta go that way. I don't disagree, even though you're diverting it, and I don't think it's legal, but I do know it's gotta go that way. I can't argue that point.
All right.
I'm not gonna fill it up with dirt and watch the city.
Would you send that to our clerks, and I will find you a solution. I'll try to find you a solution. May not be a
I don't
solution.
need to lock my door, do I?
Well, not this week. Is that all you had for me?
Yeah.
I'll try to find you a solution, Gary.
All right. And same thing on the piece of land that I tried to swap y'all, the lift station.
I don't
And-
have that power.
No, I know that, but I'm gonna explain something to you real quick if I'm not taking up too much time. In a letter, it said that y'all don't need that strip, you have access from the road. And I agree, but all the companies that own the generator, they've had a major problem with it, you know that. It's got bad oil pressure, it's a bad generator, they've been working on it for months. They all have to park on my private property to get into that side of the
I
gate.
gotcha.
But I don't mind, I'm not the guy, get off my land.
Are you talking about
But-
the generator on the lift station?
Correct, and I let them, I told the guys, I don't have a problem with y'all coming on private property, which I tried to give y'all an easement on to maintain this, I'm not like that.
Okay,
But if it gets to a point where it's just gonna be on and on, I'm gonna block it off.
okay.
But I don't wanna do it, the county people,
Right.
y'all say y'all don't need access on that side, maybe y'all don't, but the people that work on the generator and the people that change that pump out when it
Yeah.
goes bad,
Yeah, in the lift station.
yeah, it's hard for them to come off the road and do it.
Okay.
I don't have any use for that property.
And you're gonna give it to us?
I'm gonna give you something, but it ain't gonna be that.
So if I call you in the morning, you might be able to help us out?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, I got 2 appointments in the morning. As soon as I clear those, I'll come by your house.
All right,
And
thanks
you
for the
tell me
warning.
what you think the solution is.
All right, and I've mentioned it over the years,
Well,
because
we'll
I
get-
don't think that 5 acres across the street is gonna perk. If you dig it 12 feet deep, you got 10 feet of water. When you got a
So-
storm, you got
I thought that too until they showed me how they're gonna do it. You don't see the berm that they're gonna make from the dirt around from when it comes out of the middle of the hole. That's the difference. According to the engineer.
I know, and engineers, you know, what makes them shows that they're wrong
Yeah.
is a lot of rain.
That's what they're saying. Mr. Lumley dug a
It
hole
looks great, the
and
hole
found
to
that it
the,
was
you get 10
water was a
inches.
foot deep, but then they said no, because it's gonna be bermed.
Fulcrums, that's not a retaining pond, it's a lake, it's not retention pond anymore because it stays full. Retention ponds usually are
Drain.
dry,
Right,
and when you get a rain, there's water that fills.
right,
That pond stays 3/4 full all the time.
okay,
So it don't hold a whole lot of what they think it was supposed to hold either.
okay.
Anyway,
See you tomorrow morning.
all right.
Maybe we put some catfish in it.
Oh, let them drink it all. Anybody else before we move on with the agenda?
I'd like to just publicly thank some people, not by name, but,
What is your name and address, ma'am?
my name is Ann Leone, and I'm representing Joel Leone, who lives at 6089, Highway 98 in the Sun Bay, townhomes. My son purchased a nice townhome in Sun Bay that was right next to 6091, which is a condemned, unit.
Yes, ma'am.
My son's a busy professional, otherwise he'd be here tonight. He works at a local hospital, he works long hours, and home ownership is new to him, so he thought he was making a really good investment. But when I saw it, all I saw was trouble, because the other side of the firewall that he shares with 6091 was just devastation and mold and debris and potential for a lot of things: termites, insects, rodents, vagrants, projectiles, and storms. Basically, it's just an unstable property. For me, it was like thinking about, if you think about your favorite meal, but then it comes on a garbage can lid, it looks good, but you can't enjoy it. I'm retired, and my son works, like I said, a lot of hours, so I asked him if I had his permission to investigate and try and see what was going on. And so my journey began. there's a condemned sign posted on the garage, and truly from the front, it doesn't look too bad. It looks neglected, but maybe not as devastating as it really is. But if you look if you stand in the right spot out front, you can look through the second floor window,
See
right through
daylight
the,
through the roof.
you can see the blue sky, yeah. And I understand Hurricane Michael hit the area hard, but I thought this had to have fallen through a crack. Nobody was looking at it.
No.
So, you know, desperate for some guidance on, you know, what happens when a notice is posted but no remedies are made. I posted something on the Nextdoor app, and almost immediately I got attention from that post, and I did get some answers, and apparently it did fall through some cracks, and I believe it is now getting the attention it needs, and I'm hopeful that that steak dinner that I envisioned on a garbage can lid is going to be properly plated. I just want to publicly thank everybody who helped untangle the pieces, and I don't know all the people, but I know that there were quite a few people involved in figuring it out, and it was a fairly complicated situation, and a number of factors that created the limbo that 6091 had fallen into.
So Taylor,
Oh, sorry.
no, don't worry about it.
I
Go.
just
It's your
ultimately, I just wanted to say that, you know, thank you. I'm grateful for the connections, the contacts, and the community that I saw as a result of this. And ultimately, it will remain on my radar, and I hope that it continues to remain on yours, and together that we can right the ship.
So one thing, and I appreciate your comments because this has been a problem for a long time. And the hurricane, that was almost 5 years ago. This should have been dealt with a long, long time ago, but it's been in litigation. The person that lived there died. You know this because of your investigation. Any other apartment, we would have had it bulldozed already. We would have taken that down, and it would have been a vacant side, and your son's apartment would have become the outside edge of that piece of property. The problem with that piece of property is that the outside wall is the support structure for the power for the whole subdivision.
Right.
So me having it taken down for $10,000 is the simple part. The problem is, what do I do with the electricity for the remaining apartments? And that's the problem. And it's been to code enforcement. It's been through potential new buyers. It's been through the bank saying, we do not want to sell it. We will not let it go. And now it's gone through the magistrate's court. If I'm not mistaken, stop me when I'm wrong, but it has been arbitrated through attorneys. Is that about where we're at? No?
It's been discussed,
It's
but
been discussed.
yeah,
So
we haven't reached a solution.
what do you think we should do? Because I think we should take it down and somebody own it and move the power over. That's what I think. Now, that may not be legal, but I'd like to see somebody take ownership of that. I was told last week that the bank was washing their hands of it.
Yeah, I think it's a real shame that evidently there was an insurance payout on it.
Yes, there was.
And so somebody took the money and ran.
When it
and-
first happened, the
yeah.
damage was minimal.
Yeah.
I mean, lost some roof, but it could have been fixed. But the guy that lived there, we went there on probably about 8 fire and med calls over a period of 2 years, and before and after the hurricane, and it just got progressively worse. Then he died. And then there was some issue about ownership. And then the lady next door was going to buy it. Then the bank wouldn't free it up. Then the bank wanted full retail. So my code magistrate's nodding to me that yes, it has been arbitrated. And but I don't know, do we have an owner yet? I don't think we have an owner yet. Do you think your son might want it?
Oh, no.
Would you want it?
The probate supervisor is what Mr. Sloan has, the information, and he was gonna pass that on to them and say, hey, listen, if you guys are willing to deal, that perhaps you would have somebody that would wanna invest in that and
So
repair it.
there was no way to,
They want 45, take the building down. Fair enough. Tony doesn't want to rescue it because there's too much complications. But they want 75 to move the power. So I'd have 115 in the job and maybe never get it back. I can't risk 115 of our money for something that's not ours. You see?
Is anybody paying taxes on it? Does anybody know?
just,
It's not known to me.
Yeah.
I would say probably the bank, if anybody is, because it's
The
think the-
probate supervisor has paid taxes on it.
Okay, so there you are, the probate supervisor's paying it.
What is
And
that
I don't know if
exactly mean?
supervisor's the right word, but, Mr.
Personal
Sloan-
representative.
Is it personal representative? Is it gonna
I
get before
don't,
a
I
judge?
can't tell you for sure that they are paying the taxes,
Okay.
Mayor. What came out in the, hearing the other day was that you were aware that there was a potential buyer.
Yep.
And I.
There is. I've got,
And
you know.
I asked if I could get that information to pass it on to the attorney for the personal
Okay,
representative.
I didn't know that part. So we will find out shortly when we leave here and go to my office what the potential buyer is willing to offer, because people are not gonna pay the code fine on top. They won't.
Yeah,
So we may have to give up some latitude here ourselves as the city to get it taken care of. You still have water coming in this house, I bet you, right? When it rains through the hole next door,
oh, absolutely.
comes
yeah.
under the
Not-
floor.
Well, not in the condemned unit next
Yeah.
door. It not only is the roof open, but the sliding glass door is wide open in the back
Yeah.
too. And I
People
don't know.
come in and go in and
Yeah.
they wander up and down on the beach here. I know they do. I know they do.
So it's completely open to the elements.
We have your name and number, and I will discuss this with Mr. Sloan when we get through here tonight. Somebody will call you, if not me, tomorrow, and let you know where we're at with this arbitration.
Okay, okay, thanks.
That helps. Thank you,
I'll
ma'am.
get that to you.
Bye-bye. The floor is open to anybody.
Diane Coates, 1521 Dover Road. It's just about the steel building that wants to build steel buildings on 98 where the church was. We've had some conversations, I noticed, in the Facebook part and next door. I don't know enough about it, so if anybody behind me has any clue what's gonna go on, like, did it sell the property? Did they buy the property? What is going on with that?
I would suggest to you that you reach out to the people on the sign out there. The
But
owners,
what if
the
we're
realtor.
too late? That's gonna be another thing like,
Hasn't been to the planning council that I am aware of.
well, what if they bought it? Move It, storage, bought that land.
What is it you're
It was
asking me, ma'am?
purchased, it was already purchased, so does that mean they're gonna have a chance to build there?
Who?
Another
The
big
company?
Yeah,
Certainly.
They're asking for a zoning change, though. That's what they're coming before the planning commission for.
okay.
So I think
that's-
to get what they want, they'd have to have a zoning change.
And it's
So-
been publicized on the county website and in the News Herald, and it comes before the planning commission. on
So it needs to go
April
before the planning council before we can really comment, ma'am.
Okay, super. So we gotta be at the planning committee, all of us that don't
They'll send a
want that.
recommendation to the city council,
Right,
make it compliant with the land development regulation, if it can be, if it is, and then we'll make a decision on if they can build it or not. I have
Okay.
not seen any plans, I have not heard. We've met one time a year ago with the property owner, the potential property owner, and that's as far as it's gone. I've seen string lines and flags out there, that's all I can tell you. I don't know, do we know if they own it? I don't think they do.
It was sold.
Oh, it was
Yeah,
sold,
it's
okay,
on-
there's your answer, it's
It's
sold.
on the Bay County Property Appraisal.
It's on the Bay
website.
County Property Appraiser, the name of the new owner is on there, but is it compliant with the LDR?
I don't know.
Oh.
So that's what I'm gonna try to find out. And if we can't talk about it at that planning committee meeting because it's on the agenda, we have a good chance to talk about it now, here. So if we do go,
No,
Well, we're not talking about it, cause we can't do that.
It hasn't even gone through the planning council. Once it goes through the planning council, then they will have, discussion, and they'll decide and make a recommendation to the city council, and then it will come to the city council, and there'll be a public hearing, and you can speak to it at that time.
after
At either
they,
the
Public
planning
hearing.
council meeting or the city council meeting.
okay,
On May 2nd and May 16th are both public hearings
for that.
Is it on there?
if it approves through planning.
Oh, if it
But
was
it's on
approved,
planning
it's
commission
got-
for next week, right? The 11th.
Yeah, on the
it's gotta go through
11th.
there first.
But
We
it is-
can't even talk about it till they're done.
Okay.
Alright, thank you, ma'am. Anybody else? Nobody? Okay, sounds good. Moving right along, the approval of the minutes from March the 21st. You should have a copy in your package.
I make a motion that we approve them as presented.
We have a motion.
We'll stop it.
We got a second. You call a roll, please.
Ms. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Chapel?
Yes.
Ms. Galbraith?
Yes.
Ms. Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Kelly?
Yes. Thank you very much, Council. The only item on the regular agenda for today, I'm going to pass you out a photograph. This is from the Air Force Booster Club. There's 3 there, I think. And there should be 3 for you guys. There you go. So on the a week ago Tuesday, we were contacted by Airman First Class Jordan and Staff Sergeant Rocket of the Base Airmen's Booster Club. And they are asking for permission from the Parker City Council to have a fun day, an event, I guess you'll call it, on the beaches at Earl Gilbert Park. They want to have a bouncy castle, a cookout, a dump tank, and as you can see on your piece of paper, they're going to use some grills, bouncy house volleyball for about 4 or 5 hours on that day. On the advice of council, I reacted to this and said, are you going to have liability insurance? And as it stands right now, they have not responded with an answer to that. But they do want to do this on the 26th of May. And what I think we should probably consider is a tentatively, if they can provide the liability insurance, that they'll be allowed to use the beach. But I will tell you this week, the Airmen's Association is going to be using the Under the Oaks Park from the county, and that's all. They did provide documentation for liability insurance. I have a copy of that on my desk. So I'm in total agreement with Mr. Sloan. If anybody has a large event down there, they probably should have some liability insurance. Any thoughts, council? Because you know, with a bouncy house, you can get yourself in a pinch. And the one thing I asked the guy was, are you not worried about it blowing out in the bay? Because they blow across the water. I mean, they do. I mean, and I'm worried about that part of it. If you're in there bouncing away and then it blows across the bayou, or the intercoastal in this case. So, any thoughts?
We'll have a question. Do we require event insurance when people rent out our other buildings and other spaces?
Like what?
No.
No, but we don't have bouncy castles. Like when they use the community center or the.
Or any of them? Yeah, I'm just curious if we require that any other time.
I don't think we do, but I think those are insured. They've got to be insured by the city, right? But we wouldn't allow a bouncy house to go in there because of the liability. I don't mind if they have a bouncy house. I don't care what they do there, but me personally, I feel like you should have to have some insurance. Well, council says we should. So.
And they should indemnify the city, and it probably would not be an exclusive right to use of the beach because it's a public park.
It's public property. And I explained to them that they would have to, when they got there that morning, because Mr. Summerlin and I met with the Airmen's Association on site, and they're very excited, but they understand that if they're not first, it's a public park, and that they'll have to just accommodate the other folks that go down there.
So my concern is it is Memorial Day weekend. It's Friday the 26th, which is the beginning of Memorial Day weekend, and they
Yep.
want to take the boat ramp up to do the cardboard boat race. I think that's just a matter of saying you can't block the boat ramp. It's Memorial Day weekend.
Right.
You can do your boat launch off the side of the bay
Okay.
at the thing. I don't think that.
Well, one other
They
thing
should
that
have
you
the
can't
ability
see on
to-
this aerial that I discussed with him, the picture that you're seeing is an aerial from Tyndall taken before the changes occurred there. You could tell by looking at the apartments and stuff. But what you're not seeing on this picture is all the equipment that they're using to build the pier. And that's going to be all over the place right there on that corner. And I asked him, he said he could work around it, but can he? You know, because Harders is clear up front when they started this property construction for this pier, they didn't want anybody on there. And I don't blame them. I don't want people climbing on his cranes and his diggers and whatever else he's got over there.
Well, what was their original supposed to complete date? Just curious.
Midsummer. That's what they're saying.
Original.
Midsummer.
No, what was their original?
Oh, January.
Okay, so do they really have a say? I mean, they're 5 months behind
I
schedule.
know. I think it'll be Christmas before we see a pier.
Okay.
So I don't know.
my concern, they can do the boat race on the bay side.
Okay.
They can't take up.
About where the volleyball is, have them put the boats there?
If they want to use the beach, let them use the beach, but I just don't, we can't block the boats.
I'm with you.
guys. Not a
I'm with you.
Memorial Day weekend, not for a cardboard boat race.
And
You're
then
gonna
what
have
we
some
can't
very
understand
upset
is why they
people.
didn't use the Air Force controlled side, but for some reason, this is what I was told. That the Airmen's Booster Club is not, sanctioned by the United States Armed Forces. It's a private organization. Made up of airmen, not sanctioned by the United States Air Force or their armed forces of the United States. So it's like, unlike the other one that's going to be at Earl Gilbert Park, it is sanctioned. It is the Air Force Booster Club. And normally a representative would come before the council from the Air Force and from MWR or whatever, and they would speak to us, but they would not come and speak to us because it's not sanctioned by the Air Force. And that's why in our conversation with Mr. Sloan, we said you really need to have some liability insurance because I won't accept the liability for the city. So that's why we're here tonight, and I want to know what you guys think about it. We don't have to let them do it. I can make a phone call in the morning and scrub it.
I've actually been to one of these.
Have you?
I have, not here, in Japan.
Was it
and
good?
It was a blast. And they shoved off of the side of a lake. There was no boat ramp. That's my only concern. I have no problem with them doing it. And they're very good about designated drivers and that kind of thing. There's always the buddy system, and
Yep.
they have their DDs,
Good
and
point.
I have no problem. If they provide the insurance and just move their boat race to the other side, I don't have a problem with
Any
it.
thoughts?
I agree.
Okay. Council, y'all think that'd be good? We should put this to a vote, shouldn't we?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chief.
I don't
Pub-
know if they really realize how that park has been. I'd be going down there on the weekends and stuff like that, and, it's just jam-packed full.
It is.
There's no room for anybody to be doing anything.
There's not. I explained it all to him. Mr. Summerall and I met with him. We explained everything. That, you go down there with 2 cars, you go down there with 50 cars. We went down there last weekend and the cars were parked all over the grass.
Yeah.
You know?
sure.
So, Chief, go ahead. You got the floor.
I would suggest that they would go to, Under the Oaks, and do this thing.
Okay, I could do that.
There's no beach there.
No. Just rocks and a seawall.
Yeah, there is a beach.
Yeah, there is.
When the tide's out, there's a beach along the, seawall there. But we were talking about doing a, cardboard boat race there.
Yeah.
There is a ramp, for paddle boats.
Right. There is there's a canoe launch. Yep. So I want to do whatever I can to help these folks, and I want to do whatever we can to make their life easier and they can have a nice big party, but we just want to make sure we do it right. That's all. Chief, you got the floor.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chappell, you got anything else there? I was just gonna mention, obviously, it is a very popular place, and we've been doing some enforcement actions down there. And the other concern is that the reason, or that allows the city to be able to utilize that property, Earl Gilbert Park, is that there was an agreement with the state of Florida that there would be no consumption of alcoholic beverages on that property.
Oh.
So the Air Force or this committee or whoever group needs to know that they are not allowed to consume alcoholic beverages on that property.
Didn't know that.
Yes, sir. It's one of the
Go down and drink
things
it,
that's written with that property.
Okay.
And so,
Oh, I've had beer down there.
Maybe we should.
I mean, do we typically enforce that?
oh, yes, ma'am.
I didn't know that neither.
We're required to enforce that, because if we don't, then we could lose the right to Earl Gilbert Park.
Mr. Sloan's
as a
telling me
city.
that is correct.
Will you send that to me? I wanna read that.
Yeah.
No city
I mean-
property can you have alcohol.
Yeah, there's no signs. There's no
Yeah.
signage.
That was part of the agreement. There was signs down there that says no alcohol. We also had a sign down there with park hours. That is one of the things that we're gonna have to address here shortly, because in our, code, it's specifically mainly for Earl Gilbert Park. It doesn't address all the other parks that we have that, have come into, fruition since 1980s. But, that is something we'll be bringing forward at some point as that pier goes in. Because currently you're allowed to use the boat ramp 24 hours a day. However, after 11 p.m., you're not allowed to park your truck and trailer down there. So I don't know how you're going to launch a boat and not leave your trailer and
No, we gotta
truck
change
there.
that. We
So
gotta change
those are some of the provisions that need to be changed in there as well. I mean, we've kind of used common sense since I started 26 years ago in enforcing all of this, but alcohol has always been one of the main things.
I feel like we need to, at some point, put this on the agenda or a workshop or
Yeah.
to go over all of this.
We can do a workshop.
I thought the fishing pier was gonna be 24 hours.
But he said
It's
that
gonna have to be.
You just can't park there.
You just can't park there. You gotta leave it at your house and walk down.
I think you need,
Really, it's just ridiculous.
I think you need to contact them and talk a little bit more about it and tell them that, the alcohol and.
So, we would be okay to let them do it if we move the boats around to the beach, no alcohol.
Then it's a one and done.
I could
mean,
say it,
that's-
but that ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
Chairman, I mean, what do you expect? You can have a cold beer in a day off. So-
You don't know the new Air Force.
All right.
I would talk to them and see if they would,
So,
maybe consider using, under the oaks.
okay,
But I think there's the alcohol,
Yeah,
there's no alcohol under the oaks either.
There's no signs there.
okay. I'll check with that Ron tomorrow. So,
Well, if there's no sign, I don't know.
Mr. Sloan says we need a vote on this.
Well,
I make,
I would ask that maybe we get this information and look at the lease and confirm
If you
the,
can or
the
can't.
language.
Okay,
but if we don't,
And suggest to them that currently we believe this.
Right.
But, I need to look at the language in the lease itself.
okay. So,
But I don't wanna, I would hate to push it too far.
Yeah.
Can we make a motion and vote?
yeah,
and
so that at least
give
can
you-
have it when it's fixed.
Yeah.
Okay.
I make a motion that we allow them to use the park, but not the boat ramp during Memorial Day.
Okay.
With liability insurance.
With liability insurance
Yep.
and no alcohol, if that is indeed what is in the code.
It is.
Okay.
I second.
Get a first and second call roll, please.
Ms. Burrow?
Yes.
Mr. Chapel?
Yes.
Ms. Galbraith?
Yes.
Ms. Gibson?
Yes.
Mayor Kelly?
Yes, thank you, council. So this, now we're gonna move on to the, it's not in this, we're not doing the, spreadsheet like we do every. Oh, it's different, okay, go ahead. You have the floor, ma'am, go tell us what's different.
We have everything allotted for meetings, so I only gave it to you so you.
Okay,
know
so,
what's on it, but we
so
have
she
meetings
gave me the sheet just as, for your information only, cause everything's in meetings already,
Except the procedure manual, which we just discussed.
which you just discussed, and you're working on it, and Ms. Galbraith's gonna help you with that. Is that it?
The zoning, I think, actually spoke to Austin Mount. We were on a call together and
Go ahead.
I just said, hey, we are gonna be reaching out to you.
So we have a TPO meeting tomorrow at
Yep.
3:30.
Okay.
I plan to reach out to Mark Rega tomorrow before the meeting, just to get
Yep,
some
yep.
input from him before I have a conversation with Austin.
Very good.
So I'll be able to report back at the next council meeting.
Excellent, excellent. All right, sounds good. Mr. Chapel, do you have anything for us, sir, before we go to close?
Not too awful much. I wanna thank all the citizens of Parker that came out and, stuffed eggs. It only took us about an hour and 20 minutes to do over 2,000 eggs, and I thought it was pretty fast. Appreciate all the people that came out. The other thing is, we're having a meeting, Thursday night at 5:30, just to make sure everything is, everything is in consideration, up there, so if you wanna come to a meeting, it won't last long. I think we've got everything squared away, but, we need to just talk about it and make sure we do.
And you have all your supplies, there's nothing you're short.
Yeah, we got all kinds of stuff.
You got the floor.
Did we get the references from the grant writer?
No, I haven't gotten anything so far.
Okay. That was my only question.
It's a good one. Do you have anything?
The only thing I have is, we need to do something about these house numbers on all these houses around here that don't, there's so many houses that don't have numbers on them that if the emergency services went out there, they would, I just don't see where they'd find them.
We put it in a couple newsletters.
Yeah.
I did a post on Facebook.
They're just not out there.
That's a code violation, isn't it? I mean,
You're
Oh my
required
God,
to
we
have
don't
a
wanna
number.
start writing code.
At 2 in the
for that.
morning, when you're operating with a spotlight,
you
that
can't,
damn number is so important,
can't see them.
you know?
They don't go in order.
Well, that's,
In Parker, half the numbers are backwards and forwards. But go ahead, go to the floor.
I agree with Tanya. If we can at least do notices and get Dennis
Code?
code.
Not, you want
Well, I don't think we need to send code enforcement out to everybody yet, but,
I mean, we've,
Could we in the next newsletter put out there that you check your, give them the dimensions as required and black on white, tan on green, or whatever it works out to be, so it can be seen from the road?
reflective if they can.
And if you ever notice the chain link fence that goes across North Lakewood behind the old HBO storage, the reason it's all caved in the middle is because it still comes up on GPS as an open road. And so when the ambulance are dispatched and they come in off Tyndall Parkway, very often they come down North Lakewood and get trapped up against that chain link fence. I'd like to look at that in the future if we're gonna look at that and other stuff. Mr. Ch- do you have anything, sir? Nothing?
No, sir.
Okay, Madam Clerk?
We won't be meeting on the 18th, it is election day.
That's right. Okay. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for taking the time to come here.